Hello there. If you've watched some of the other videos I've put out recently, you probably know I'm at the beach. Sun is bright, so you're getting just the background being the wall of the house we're at. So maybe by next time I'll have some good virtual background to put on. Anyway, I did one award, it's been several months back, on boosting your post. And it was a very quick one I did, just very, because some people had made some mistakes and I wanted to correct them. Well, this one's going to go into a little more detail so that you can have what you need to boost the post. Now, first thing to understand is boosting is very easy and effective. You basically have two questions to answer. Once you've decided which post you're going to boost, all you've got to do is basically say where you want it to show and how much money do you want to spend. There's some other things I'll go through that you might or might not use at a given time, but those are the keys. Now this is in instead of doing a full ad, going to the Facebook ad site and actually doing an ad. And I'll do something one day about doing ads, and there are a few things you can do on ads that you can't do on boosts. The boost is intended to be what we're using it for, a quick and easy way for an organization or a company that doesn't do as very many to get something out there to the public. Whereas the ad option is really designed, for Coca-Cola or somebody like that. It's going to send out a lot of stuff fairly often. They got a full-time person on there. Still, it's not hard to do, and there are a couple little variations. I'll get some out and tell you, but I will say this: I normally boost because the additional things you can do under an ad are seldom important. And what we do, they're just not very important. So anyway, let me share my screen and we'll walk through this. There it is. Okay, this is the website for Trinity in Mount Airy. It's a good website, by the way, if you want to look at it. I really like the cover page, and they have several related photos on there. So, and let's see. So what you do is you find the post you want to do. This is one I actually put up yesterday. Now I've already boosted it, so we're gonna work through it. It's about the course on Revelation. Doesn't matter what it's about. This is just it. It has the link to my website, and I'll show you. You can do either. 430 people reached and 24 engagements in under 24 hours. Hey, that's pretty good. So basically come down here, and most time it'll just say boost, not boost again, of course. And you click on that, and up comes the options. It's fairly easy. You go down here to the links, special ad categories. You do not want to touch that. Just stay away from that. Then you go down here, and the first question is audience. Who should see your ad? The thing to be very careful about is right here, because the default is to show it to everybody in the United States. Obviously, that's not going to help you. So let me go through the math a little bit. I've changed my thinking on this to some extent. I used to say, figure out where about 80% of your people come from. There's always a few that come a long distance, but 80% kind of give you the maximum range you're likely to get a person from. And that's usually about a 15 or 20 minute drive. I've really changed that. I've gone into a tighter area. And the reason is for this, like in Mount Airy, if we spend, for the sake of argument, $30, that will have, and just on the average, about 3,000 accounts will see that post, maybe a few less. At 5 miles, that means about 1% of the accounts will have the post show up on their feed, about 1%. Now, if I push it out to 10 miles, then very possibly you'll get down into the 0.5% or even less than that. So you got a bigger audience, but you're still showing the same number of people. So the percentage of people who see it drops dramatically as you go out. Okay, we understand that. But kind of where my thinking has been recently is the person who lives 3 miles away is more likely to come to something at your church than somebody who lives 10 miles away. So if I show it to a person who lives 3 miles away, my odds of actually getting a reaction is higher. That may be true, may be false. I know some churches that go out about 25 miles because they like to cover a very broad area, and that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. But that's my thinking. All right. Second of all, let me hit this so you can see it. I always just do 18 years old and up. Down here, you can indicate where you want it to show. And let me show you what happens. Let's go Dobson. So if I went to somewhere in Dobson, North Carolina. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is I want you to notice, I'm trying to see, are there any? There are a number of places outside. For some reason, the aquarium at Fort Fisher shows up. Let me think of another one. Well, here you go. Ararat, Virginia. There's an Ararat, Australia that comes up first. Armenia comes up second. Pennsylvania comes up third. Virginia comes up fourth. North Carolina comes up fifth, but it actually isn't where we want to advertise. So just my point only being, be very, very careful about that. And you can use zip codes, but notice, I lost it there for a second, but notice what happens there. Many countries use a 5-digit zip code. So you could, if you're not careful, end up in Italy. Let's see, wherever Denmark is. And anyway, these other places, Russia. So, you know, it's no big deal. Just keep an eye out and make sure you're getting where you want to be. Somehow spending money to send an ad to Italy is probably not real helpful. You can also, what they call, just drop a pin, which means pick a spot rather than an address, and you drop a pin. And it shows you an area that you can increase or decrease. Let me get rid of that for a second. That's the pin I just dropped. That's the area of my initial 7-mile reach. And I went out 7 because there's a couple of communities up in here in Virginia that I particularly want to reach. So I went a little more than 5 miles. All right, second thing, detail targeting. Now, probably you won't get much of this. Probably the only 2 times I can see you likely to use this is if you're doing something specifically oriented toward children. You can do parents. You can do all parents, or you can do different age parents. So that can be a good thing for, like I say, an ice cream, a Christmas pageant, anything along those lines. The other thing you might do is if you're doing something like a pet lesson. You have pets at home, funny pets, you know, all kinds. The only important thing when you're doing that is make sure you keep very careful on your demographics. You want to have parents who live within a distance of your church, not parents who live 50 miles away or 2,000 miles away. You may have noticed, let me go back here, that the last ones I used were classical music and jazz music. That was for an event in Rochester, New York, where they do a jazz Compline service with jazz music. It's very nice, as a matter of fact. It's you can find them on twosaints.org, I think, in Rochester, New York. So we targeted people who like jazz. And there was actually several different jazz options, so we targeted all those and thought classical music would work too. So anyway, I don't like this away from downtown. I don't know why that's there. You know, if that'd be if you're doing something like you're, I don't know, a donut shop, and you want to reach visitors to your community, maybe down here at the beach would be a good one. So anyway, you save your audience. You can also do these other options. People who like your page and people similar to them. That's an interesting thing. If you have a large enough church, I'd go with that. But if you have a fairly small church, particularly, for example, as many of us are, a small church with the average age over 60 and everybody white, that's all you're going to advertise to is people over 60 who are white. If you want a broader population group, excuse me, whether you narrow the targeting or not, you don't want to use that one. People in your local area, I'm not sure what the difference is between that and what I just did, so I stay away from it. I'm not sure what's going on, I stay away from it. All right, you set your start date and your end date. Understand, and I've said this before, the last one I posted, Facebook took about 4 hours to approve. Other times it could take a day or two. And I think it just happens to be the time of year and how busy they are. I mean, this isn't involving any people. This is all done by computer. So it isn't like, they're short-staffed or anything. So you do the amount of time. I like doing total budget rather than daily budget. And the reason for that is total budget sale, in this case, over 5 days, that's only $6 a day I'm spending. But what'll happen is Facebook will spend less the first 2 days and try to get a feel for who's interested and then spend more the rest of the time. This actually works much better if you go and say 10 days or 2 weeks, where Facebook has a lot of time, the computer has a lot of time to learn. But that's what I do. I usually do $30 for 4, 5, 6 days, something like that. I wouldn't worry about this. What it's showing is it's going to put it on Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram. If I got the time, I'll take it off of Messenger because I've never seen a response off of Messenger. But, if I get 0.5% of my money spent on Messenger, so it isn't any big deal. And, of course, you got to tell them how you're going to pay, and it's got to be a credit card. You can't do it after the fact. And then you come down here and you just say, boost, post now. You're done. I mean, it really is that simple. So, and my suggestion to you is, as you get ready to hit boost post, go ahead and pray for what you're doing. Pray that you've set it up right. Pray that the post you are boosting is one that will be of interest to people. Pray that the right people will see it. And just pray that you're doing God's will. Not that God will help you, but you're doing God's will. Because we're doing God's will, God will take care of the rest. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching. And as always, let me know any way I can be of help.